And then Sam pulls out an EMF meter, and he explains that ghosts put out electric magnetic interference, and the meter will tell them if a ghost is there. And we are going to actually talk about that. And it's time for lore. And we have talked a little bit about EMF things before in passing when we talked about some ghost hunting equipment, but we haven't really dug into what it is. So we're going to talk about what the EMF meters are, what EMF is, and whether or not you're actually can detect ghosts with them. So an electromagnetic field, EMF, is best described as a physical field produced by electrically charged objects. EMF exists everywhere, or should that be EMFs? What is the plural of EMF? I'm not sure, because it's the electromagnetic field, right? So anyhow, natural EMF is generated by the earth, and that can be influenced by weather, solar activity, lightning, and geomagnetic storms. Man-made EMF is produced by electrical systems, wiring, and everyday things like power outlets, appliances, and cell phones. And according to Paranormal Down Under, EMF is believed to act as a trigger for residual hauntings, a playback mechanism for stored energy, and a catalyst that releases recorded events. Believed is probably the key word in that sentence, as science has never proven any of those things can happen. Well. So, yeah. That same site said studies have shown that fluctuations in EMF can make a person feel like they are being watched, trigger anxiety, create sensory distortions, and induce mild hallucinations. And science has kind of shown that can happen. Now, PSI, I know there's like, if they're saying Psi or if it's Psi, the PSI Encyclopedia proposed that exposure to specific electromagnetic frequencies may contribute to sensory-based paranormal encounters, such as feeling touched, hearing unexplained noises, or witnessing apparitions. There are also theories suggesting that when electromagnetic fields interact with naturally occurring magnetic fields, appliances, or physical structures, that those generate the phenomena that's often mistaken for the paranormal, including things like the poltergeist activity, temperature shifts, light anomalies, and the movement of objects. Other theories linking electromagnetism to the paranormal frequently suggest that spirits can be identified via electromagnetic emissions, or that spirits rely on this energy for manifestation. Furthermore, some paranormal investigators posit that ghosts use electromagnetic fields to interact with observers or to become visible. I'm going to break down some of that stuff. So, historically, scientists began detecting and measuring electromagnetic energy in the late 1800s when Heinrich Hertz, he built the first machine to detect radio waves. And electromagnetic energy could be electrical or magnetic waves propagating through space, and that could be radio waves, microwaves, X-rays, or gamma rays, right? And again, according to PSI Encyclopedia, some of the earliest associations of electromagnetism and the paranormal occurred in 1875 when physicists Balfour Stewart and P.J. Tate proposed that electromagnetic forces provided a physical continuity between the living world and the ghost world. Because that was 1800 science. And they're like, yes, this is something that they weren't able to prove it, but they posited it. In 1894, a wire apparatus was used to measure the electromagnetic surges coming off the medium Eusapia Palladino. And other things were trying to measure that stuff around that time when they were just trying to figure out like what science waves were and whether or not they were working with the paranormal. We're going to fast forward, though, to the 1980s and Ontario, Canada, where Michael Persinger was trying to prove that electromagnetism might be the cause of paranormal effects like apparitions. Now, Persinger hypothesized that changes in geomagnetic fields driven by tectonic stress could stimulate the brain's temporal lobes, thereby producing the subjective experiences associated with the paranormal. Now, Mary Roach, author of Spook, explained that Persinger had another theory that exposure to electromagnetic fields lowers your melatonin levels, which then cause tiny epileptogenic, I think I said that right, I don't know, tiny microseizures, and those microseizures cause hallucinations.
Whoa.
He also believed that the emotions experienced during grief produce stress hormones, which could also produce these microseizures. So having places where you're expecting to experience death producing those things that triggers these micro seizures that then trigger your feeling like you're seeing a ghost, right? Persinger created what would be called the God Helmet, which would expose the wearer's brain to magnetic signals. Yes, it sounds like something out of X-Men.
It does.
Some wearing the God Helmet were said to experience both physical and psychological sensations, including religious visions. Persinger claimed that 80% of the roughly 1,000 individuals who underwent his specific electromagnetic stimulation of the right temporal lobe reported feeling a presence. His 2002 research on lab-generated hauntings, published in the Journal of Nervous and Mental Disease, involved 48 university students. These participants were exposed to 1 microtesla electromagnetic fields targeted at the left or right temporal lobe or both, while the control group received placebo pulses. The study found that subjects with right hemisphere exposure were significantly more likely to experience fear and sense of presence compared to those in the fake or the left hemisphere groups. Right brain dominant people responded the most to the helmet, indicating that some are more susceptible to the quote unquote paranormal experience. Experiences included some who were quoted say, I felt a presence behind me and then along my left side. Another one said, I began to feel the presence of people, but I could not see them. They were along my sides. They were colorless, gray looking people. I know I was in the chamber, but it was very real. The paranormal researcher Susan Blackmore, who visited Persinger well into her skeptical years, for a New Scientist article wrote, I felt something get hold of my leg and pull it, distort it, and drag it up the wall. Mary Roach questioned whether it was possible that EMF patterns enhance people's ability to see the paranormal. Persinger thought that people could be affected by electromagnetic fields and then project their own experiences onto them, with ghost as the explanation for the sensations they experience, or that those people could be picking up on information from the environment. So I'm in a haunted house. I'm feeling something weird. My brain is going to say, this is what I'm feeling is a ghost.
Just because the field effects of the field just made your brain try to interpret it to that.
Well, because you're feeling the sensations that mimic these paranormal things, and your brain has to come up with a way to explain them.
I'm still hung up on lab created hauntings. I'm just saying.
Isn't that a great title? Yeah.
Anyways, it's fascinating.
Yeah. Researchers at Uppsala University in Sweden challenged the helmet's lack of repeatability and suggested the results may have been influenced by suggestibility. Another 2002 study published in Psychological Reports involved 242 undergraduate participants and found a significant correlation between spirituality and symptoms associated with complex partial epilepsy. High scores on a 98-item spirituality assessment were predictive of experiences such as fear, hallucinations, and bodily detachment, symptoms characteristics of temporal lobe epilepsy. Because this condition frequently remains undiagnosed, individuals experiencing these phenomena may lack a medical explanation and instead view them as spiritual occurrences or ghosts. One thing I forgot to say about the Persinger thing that I thought was really interesting too was, if that was correct, then it's basically saying that whether or not you're right-sided or left-sided dominant on your brain could influence whether or not you believe in ghosts or see ghosts, right? Because maybe that's why when I go to ghost investigation, my friends are like, I feel something. I'm like, what are you feeling? Like, I don't feel anything. And maybe it's because I'm not as right dominant. I don't know. I think that's really interesting. Even though that study it's not replicable. But, if it was true, I love pseudoscience, whatever, it's fine. It's all real. It's more real than AI produced science. So anyways, also according to the PSI Encyclopedia, the Association for the Scientific Study of Anomalous Phenomena, ASAP, conducted a 2004 study examining links between localized electromagnetism and reports of haunting at Muncaster Castle, Cumbria, UK. Using a pair of magnetometers, the team led by Jason Braithwaite and Maurice Townsend measured magnetic fields in the region of 0.1 to 30 hertz in the castle's tapestry room. They concluded that the ghostly occurrences reported by individuals lying on the bed were caused by interactions between the ambient electromagnetic fields and the iron bed frame. Parapsychologists from the University of Hertfordshire and the University of Edinburgh, led by Richard Wiseman, made electromagnetic field measurements while searching for explanations of reported hauntings at Hampton Court Palace and Edinburgh's vaults, which I've been to. The team used magnetometers to survey the ambient magnetic field, but found only modest evidence of causation. So what about the device itself? An EMF meter is a handheld device that is designed to measure electromagnetic fields. Consumer paranormal versions generally focus on extremely low frequency, or ELF, AC magnetic fields generated by mains electricity, which is around 50 hertz in the UK, and sometimes include a separate circuit for higher frequency electric field detection or radio frequency field approximation. A typical unit contains one or more coils, which are inductive sensors for measuring magnetic fields, and sometimes metal plates or specialized sensors for electric field coupling. All right. So EMF meters' popularity in ghost hunting is largely attributed to the rise of ghost investigation shows like Ghost Hunters, which popularized the Safe Range EMF brand. The Atlantic attributes that popularity among ghost hunters to its brightly colored LED display and propensity for false positive readings. Man-made EMF is a common cause of false positives in ghost hunting. For example, when you're taking a reading near an electrical source. I said all consumer electronics and all battery-operated items, mobile phones, walkie-talkies, these can all set off your EMF detectors. False positives could also just basically be attributed to not reading the instructions. This one person, Auerbach, yes, don't read the instructions, right? So Auerbach, they hold a graduate degree in parapsychology from Pleasant Hill's John F. Kennedy University, a program that was terminated in the 1980s. Damn it!
I was going to say, how do you sign up?
So they said, I'm seeing people use EMF meters all over the place, and they all get excited when they get a high reading, and it turns out that they're next to a microwave oven. I found more bad wiring in homes than I found ghosts with these devices, Auerbach said. So there are several types of meters used in paranormal investigations, with the most popular being a single axis EMF meter, which measures EMF in one direction. There are also tri-field, tri-axis EMF meters that measure across 3 dimensions. And when Mary Roach inquired with the tri-field natural manufacturer about their justification for marketing the device as a ghost detector, the representative, Dean Radin, admitted there was no scientific evidence. Instead, he said the marketing was based on anecdotal observations of meter spikes in purportedly haunted locations. Radin emphasized that EMF meters are designed solely to measure electromagnetic fields. There is no evidence that EMF meters detect anything other than EMF. He did tell Mary that he assumed that someone, possibly more than one person, had noticed that an EMF meter registered a jump when he or she was standing in a spot that felt haunted. And in an article for Live Science, Tom Cook, who sells ghost investigation kits, explained the scientific rationale behind his equipment as, at a haunted location, strong, erratic, fluctuating EMFs are commonly found. It seems these energy fields have some definite connection to the presence of ghosts. The exact nature of that connection is still a mystery. However, the anomalous fields are easy to find. Whenever you locate one, a ghost might be present. An erratic EMF fluctuation you may detect may indicate ghostly activity. However, Cook admitted there exists no device that can conclusively detect ghosts. Womp, womp, womp.
Bummer.
So that is EMF explained and broken down. So that is the fun device that Dean is sharing with Jack at this point. And
yeah, interesting. We see it a lot in they've used it.
I love an EMF reader. I mean, I have a couple.
One? Yeah.
It's not my favorite. Honestly, it's not my favorite ghost hunting tool but I mean, it's interesting to look at and interesting to see if there are cults, it doesn't measure cold. To see if there's different things that are changing.
If it aligns, if you have a cold spot, is the EMF also going on?
And I also think this idea of the causation, right? That it's not that it's spirits that is causing you to feel the things that feel like spirits.
That makes
sense. And that's what we're associating with
its own way.
So, well, that's, just how we use the supernatural to explain science. Maybe this is some science that we still don't quite understand, but maybe do a little bit. I don't know. And I like to, I'm a skeptic, but I also I want to believe.
I know you want to believe.
I want to believe. But womp womp, EMF doesn't work.